Hi, thanks for keep watching the films that I'm making. I've made now around 220 YouTube films that you can select from. Not all of them are freely given on the YouTube site. I have a Patreon site that perhaps you'd like to subscribe to, and there you'll see the very detailed films and the ones that if you have an uchideshi, and they come and they live with you, and they're with you for quite some time, like I've had in the past, you'll give them more detail, finer points. Some people would call them secrets, and you'll give them this information freely because you take them in like a son or daughter, and you have to be hard with them, but you also give them your gems. So my Patreon site, I hope I'm giving those students, treating them like uchideshi and giving them the gems of my thought. This is the turn of a new year, 2022, and I've been asked by one of my senior students, a Yondan, if I would make films on Saito Sensei's original books. And this is an introduction of my thoughts before I start making them. These films will be available on the Patreon site to the Patreon members, and perhaps one day they'll come out on YouTube, but currently that's the only place that they'll be listed. These are the original books, and I will be starting at volume 3, moving on to 4 and then on to 5. Now, why not start at the first two? Well, the first two are weapons, and there's more than enough weapons teachers out there offering their information and telling you how to do the katas, the saburis, and there's some very good teachers out there who have trained in Iwama, and so I'm not going to go down that route on this series, so I should just be sticking to the 3 volumes covering the taijutsu side. I'd like to give you a little bit of history for those that may not know about it, and this comes from Saito Sensei's own mouth, what I'm going to tell you, and some people may dispute it, but I can only tell you what I've heard. Saito Sensei decided in 1973 to release these 5 volumes. The first 2 being weapons, nothing was said at the time, and not the current doshu, but his father. When the 3rd book was introduced, it was introduced in Japanese and English, and he was asked by the doshu if he would not make any more books, because at the time he felt in the early 70s the world wasn't ready to know exact the secrets of Aikido, or the finer details of Aikido. So, as politeness, Saito Sensei accepted, yes, perhaps the doshu is correct, the world may not be ready for it. And let's face it, in 1973, that was very, very new in the UK. I would go to a place to train in Hillingdon, where what was known to be the hut, it still is the hut, and that was where it was known for the main Aikido place to be, where the Japanese used to first come over. Kenshiro Abbey, the big judo master, came over, and he introduced a Mr. Nakazono, and so on, Sensei Noro, and it went on to other teachers. This is just giving you a small piece of background about perhaps the world wasn't quite ready not saying anything derogative against the doshu. In 1975, Saito Sensei thought, well, you know, if we have a burning passion and something's burning and telling us that we want to give our senses Aikido to the world, I can sort of understand, and knowing Saito Sensei, that he wanted to give this to the world. So he made the following 2 books, and that's why there's 5 volumes. You'll notice in the first volumes they were published 1973, and then you would be buying the 4th and 5th volume in 1975. And this is the year I bought all 5 volumes, plus there was a cine film, a cine, what they call Cine 8 or Super 8 film, on an old cine projector that I purchased. And I used to watch the films until I wore them out over and over and over. When I met Saito Sensei 10 years later, no, not 10 years later, it's in 1983 I think it was, he explained to me that in a way it was the worst thing he'd done by producing these books and letting the world just buy them. He said, because I'm not there to instruct them and to tell them the finer details, they have taken the books and they've copied the books because they didn't have, most people didn't buy the film. I decided to buy the cine films, but most people just bought the books. If you had the books and not the films, you would understand this. Well, perhaps some of you out there had both, like me. Been doing it nearly 50 years now. Next year I'll be 50 years, so we've been around a long time. You may have the film. Okay, so Saito Sensei said how disappointed he was with everybody's 31 kata. He said, why are they doing this kata with so many errors in it? And he realised what they were doing was they were taking the books and in the taijutsu it was easy to follow. In the weapons, I'll just get you one of the volumes. You would see frame by frame, so I'll just give you a little close-up for anybody who hasn't seen the book. Okay, so what he hadn't realised at the time was, to make a book you put in photographs and you put in a small amount of words, and people were copying the books. So they would go from one to perhaps another angle, and because the photos in the book was cut from the frames on the film, you might have one frame where Sensei's doing the ski part, but the next frame might be 5 or 10 frames on, and it might be a block, but he doesn't show you how he actually moved from the ski to the block. And this is why people got it so wrong. And he said that they not destroyed the 31 kata, but what he's seeing, he was horrified with. So I wouldn't normally ever take on trying to explain Saito Sensei's books, because to me, I will never ever reach. If I lived to be 150, it would be nice. I might reach his level then. But he was so knowledgeable. But my student said, the books need explaining. And so that's what I'm going to do. So this introductory was a bit long, but it's about trying to explain while making the films, and how you, instead of frame by frame, now with all this technology, I can talk while I'm doing the stages. We will have the book and we will go through each technique, and I'll tell you all the pieces so that you get it right. If you still, these books were still available, I don't know if they are, somebody bought the rights and has republished them. They're brilliant books, they're absolutely, to me they're like bars of gold to have this information, because even though they don't have many words, they have very valuable words. But you're getting one frame in every 7 or one frame in every 10, and because it's not an equal amount, he's just saying that's a good clip, put that in the book. That's a good clip, put that in the book. Nobody knows how you go from this one stage to the next stage. If you're 7 clicks on or 10 clicks on, you won't know. Did the hand make a little movement? Did it drop? What did it do? It just shows here. The next thing, he could be there, but you don't know whether he done that to get to there, or or just turned it on the spot. Did he make a little swerve with it? Did he drop and make a bigger swerve? So this is what we'll be going through. It's going to take some time. I will do my best. I'm only a student of Saito Sensei. I'm not a master like he was, but he did part with so much knowledge. He was a wonderful teacher for that, and I'm going to try and pass it on to you and hope that you find it of pleasure throughout 2022. Okay, thank you for time, and if you wish to subscribe to my Patreon site, you can find the details always below the screen. Thank you.